Welcome to the Silverwood Saga podcast. Follow the story at silverwoodsaga.com. Now, it's time to step back into the forest. The night stretches on, and the weight of exhaustion begins to settle heavily on Jay's shoulders. His eyes feel gritty, his steps unsteady as he pushes himself forward, determined to close the gap between himself and Silra. Each step grows heavier than the last, and the world around him starts to blur at the edges. The cool night air keeps him somewhat alert, but the overwhelming fatigue from not sleeping the previous day presses down hard, making every thought feel sluggish. Just a little further, he tells himself, forcing his feet to keep moving. Maybe she's in the next town, resting in some tavern. The thought of her sitting by a fire, laughing with strangers, spurs him on as his body cries out for rest. As Jay trudges along the road, the trees close in on either side, their dark silhouettes blending into the shadows of the night. The path ahead seems endless. The idea of lying down right there in the dirt crosses his mind more than once, but he pushes it away. Through the fog of exhaustion, he notices something off the road, a small, dilapidated structure, perhaps an old storage shed. It's not much, just 4 walls and a sagging roof, but it looks like it could keep the wind and cold at bay. With what little energy he has left, he veers toward it. The door creaks as he pushes it open, revealing a dusty, abandoned interior. It smells of old wood and earth, but it's dry. He drops his knapsack onto the ground, too tired to care about the stale bread inside. The floor is rough, but as he lies down, exhaustion overtakes him. The night is quiet, save for the occasional rustling of leaves outside. As his eyes close, he thinks of Silra again, the determination in her brown eyes, the sharpness of her smile. The weight of exhaustion pulls him into a deep, dreamless sleep. Jay wakes with a start, the first rays of dawn slipping through the cracks in the dilapidated walls. Despite the roughness of the floor, he feels surprisingly rested. It wasn't the most comfortable place to sleep, but he's used to that. Taverns, stables, or even just the ground have often served as his bed. This morning, though, there's a renewed sense of purpose driving him. Sitting up, he stretches his aching limbs and glances around the small shelter. The world outside is still quiet, the birds just beginning their morning songs. He rummages through his knapsack and pulls out the last bit of stale bread, biting into it without much thought. It's not much, but it's enough to fill his stomach for now. After finishing his meal, Jay makes his way to a nearby stream. The cold water feels refreshing as he cups it in his hands, drinking deeply. It helps clear the last bit of grogginess from his mind. I'm close, he thinks, the determination in his chest burning brighter now that he's rested. The sun is fully up now, and with it comes the feeling of possibility. Jay looks toward the road, the distant outline of the next town, just barely visible on the horizon. He knows that if Silra was heading north, this town would be a natural stopping point. With his knapsack slung over his shoulder, Jay sets out once more, his steps lighter than the day before. As the town looms closer, Jay wipes the sweat from his brow, the midday sun beating down relentlessly. He squints against the glare, his mind racing. If she's been through here, she probably stayed at a tavern. That's where I should start asking around, he thinks. Approaching a guard stationed at the gate, Jay forces a friendly smile, trying to keep his tone casual. "Hello there," he begins, hoping to sound relaxed. "I'm new in town and have been on the road all day. Any chance you could point me to the best taverns around here?" The guard, who had been leaning lazily on his spear. His suspicious demeanour softens as he looks Jay up and down. "Fancy a drink, eh? Well, you've come to the right place for that," the guard says, chuckling. "We've got a few spots that'll knock you flat if you're not careful." The guard shifts his stance, warming to the idea of sharing local knowledge. "Right then, first place you'll want to stop by is the Staggering Boar, just down the main street. It's the oldest tavern in town, proper rowdy crowd too. After that you can head over to the Copper Kettle, not far from the market. Bit quieter, but they've got the best ale in town, no question." Jay listens closely, nodding along and committing each name to memory. The guard scratches his chin, thinking for a moment. "If you're looking for something a little more lively, check out the Drunken Stag near the northern part of town. Always packed with travellers and traders." Jay grins, sensing an opportunity. "Sounds like just what I need," he says, patting the guard on the shoulder. "Thanks for the tips." The guard nods, pleased with himself. "Enjoy yourself, but don't get too carried away." Jay chuckles and waves as he heads past the gate, moving into the bustling streets. As soon as he's out of the guard's line of sight, his expression shifts back to focused determination. Jay steps into the Staggering Boar, the warmth of the fire immediately hitting him as the rich scent of venison cooking on a spit fills the air. His stomach growls involuntarily, but he pushes the thought of food aside. The tavern is crowded, the kind of place where voices blend into a constant hum, but his eyes immediately land on a group of elves sitting at a table near the fire. Elves are rare in human towns, and seeing this, many of them together, stands out even more. They're talking among themselves, seemingly at ease. He hesitates for a moment, the long-standing tension between humans and elves flashing through his mind. Most humans view elves as haughty, distant and secretive, and elves aren't exactly known for their warmth toward humans either. Steeling his nerves, he approaches the group. As he nears their table, their conversation quietens, and several pairs of sharp, brown eyes turn toward him. One of the elves, a tall man with silvery blonde hair and a stern face, narrows his gaze at Jay as he stands before them. Jay clears his throat, forcing a smile. "Afternoon," he says, trying to keep his tone friendly. "Sorry to interrupt, but I'm looking for someone. An elf, actually. Blonde, about 5'4", brown eyes. She might have passed through here recently." The elves exchange glances, their expressions unreadable. The tall one, who had first locked eyes with Jay, leans back in his chair, his arms crossing over his chest. "And why would a human be searching for an elf?" the tall elf asks, his tone cool and measured. Jay takes a breath, deciding to be honest. "She helped me out of a bit of a situation. I owe her, and I just need to find her. I thought maybe one of you might have seen her pass by." There's a moment of silence, and Jay feels their scrutiny more intensely. Another elf, a woman with braided dark hair and sharp features, looks Jay over, then leans forward slightly. "Why would one of our kind mix with yours, especially here?" she asks, her tone more curious than hostile, though there's a faint sneer to her words. Jay hesitates, knowing the truth probably won't help here, but something about their curiosity emboldens him. "I don't know, but we crossed paths, and now I need to find her again." The group of elves exchange subtle, knowing glances, and for a moment Jay wonders if they're mocking him. But then the elf with the silvery blonde hair speaks again, slowly and deliberate. "Go away." Just chest jolts. "But did you see her?" "Go," the silver-haired elf snaps. Jay shifts a step back. "Fine." A younger elf leans forward, voice edged with warning. "Don't cling to things beyond your reach, human. It rarely ends well." Jay pauses for a moment, feeling the weight of the elf's words sink in. He doesn't look back, though the caution lingers in the air. Instead, he heads for the door and steps back out into the busy street, his focus now set on the Drunken Stag. It's a short walk to the Drunken Stag, the tavern bustling with the sounds of laughter, conversation, and clinking mugs. The place is packed with travellers, traders, and a few locals. The smell of spilled ale and roasted meat fills the air, and the noise is almost overwhelming. Jay's eyes quickly scan the room, searching for any familiar faces, or even the smallest hint that Silra might have been here. The bar is crowded, and a group of rowdy patrons near the fireplace are deep in conversation. With his nerves steady, Jay approaches the bartender, a burly man with a thick beard who's busy filling tankards. "Excuse me," Jay says, leaning in to be heard over the noise. "I'm looking for someone, a blonde elf, about 5'4" tall, brown eyes. She might have passed through here yesterday." The bartender gives Jay a curious glance as he wipes down the bar, clearly sizing him up. "An elf, you say?" he grunts, his voice barely audible over the noise of the tavern. "Don't see too many of their kind in here. You sure she was here?" Jay nods. "Yeah, she has been heading north, and this place seemed like a stop she might have made. Did anyone like that come through?" The bartender scratches his beard, his brow furrowed in thought. "Blonde elf, eh? Might have been one like that. Quiet sort, kept to herself. Didn't stay long, just long enough to grab a drink and some supplies before heading out." He tilts his head slightly. "Aye, she asked about the road leading out of town that way." Jay's heart races at the confirmation. Jay leans in a little closer. "Did she say where she was heading? North is a long way. Any specific place?" The bartender shakes his head, handing a tankard to a waiting patron. "Didn't say, but she wasn't in the mood for talking." Jay says thank you, then turns away, heading back toward the door, feeling the pull of urgency once again. As Jay thanks the bartender and turns to leave the drunken stag. The door creaks as he pushes through it, stepping back into the fresh air of the afternoon. Jay glances over his shoulder and catches a brief, cold glance from the earlier group of elves waiting down the street. He slips through the crowd and heads toward the northern gate of town, his mind racing. The bartender's confirmation has given him hope. As Jay makes his way toward the outskirts of town, he glances back again. His heart skips a beat when he spots them, 2 elves, their hoods pulled low, moving through the crowd behind him. "Damn," he thinks, panic rising. He tries to blend in with the crowd. Keeping his pace steady, Jay exits the town through the northern gate. The open road lies ahead. Once out of sight from the guards and townsfolk, Jay ducks behind a small grove of trees, his heart racing. He's barely caught his breath when he hears the soft, near-silent footsteps approaching. He swallows hard, gripping the strap of his knapsack tightly as the 2 elves step into view, their expressions unreadable, though their cold gazes give away their intentions. One of them, taller and with silver hair peeking from beneath his hood, steps forward, crossing his arms. "Well," he says, cracking a knuckle, "seems like you've been asking a lot of questions, human." The second elf, shorter but no less intimidating, rests a hand on the hilt of his dagger as he speaks, his tone dripping with disdain. "We don't take kindly to your kind prying into our affairs, especially when it concerns one of our own." Jay watches them closely, feeling his pulse quicken but trying to remain calm. His eyes dart from the taller elf to the one gripping the dagger. The silver-haired elf tilts his head, his eyes narrowing as he studies Jay. "Why are you chasing after her? What makes you think you have any right to search for one of our kind?" The short elf's hand tightens on the hilt of his dagger. Jay, trying not to cause trouble, replies, "I'm just looking for my friend Silra." The taller elf's expression darkens at the mention of Silra's name, his eyes narrowing as if weighing Jay's words. "Silra?" he repeats, his voice cold. "You think an elf like her would befriend a human?" The second elf sneers, his hand still resting on his dagger. "Whatever you think this is, it's best you forget about it. Silra doesn't need human friends, nor do we trust your kind meddling in our affairs." The taller elf takes a step closer, his gaze sharp. "Tell me, human, what do you really want with her?" Jay admits, his tone sincere, Honestly, I just really want the chance to talk to her again." The silver-haired elf's eyes harden, and his lips curl in disgust at Jay's words. "Just want to chat?" he repeats, his tone dripping with disdain. "You humans never know when to leave things alone." The shorter elf steps forward now, his dagger halfway out of its sheath. "Chatting sounds more like stalking to me." He snarls. "We do not appreciate being followed." The taller elf's voice drops low, his eyes cold as ice. "Turn back now, human, before you find yourself in more trouble than you can handle." "All right, lads, I'm not here to cause any trouble. Clearly you've got the upper hand, and all I've got is this butter knife." Jay holds up the knife with a wry smile. "So, I'm just going to head that way." He gestures north, "and you can go about your business, whatever that may be." The taller elf steps in front of him, blocking his path, his expression cold and unmoved by Jay's attempt at peace. "You think you can just walk away," he says, his voice dangerously calm. The shorter elf draws his dagger fully now, its blade catching the dim light. He moves to flank Jay, cutting off any chance of escape. "We're not letting you go north. Silra doesn't need someone like you trailing her. You'll only be a burden or worse." They inch closer. Jay responds, "So, you know her?" The silver-haired elf's eyes flicker with a mix of annoyance and disdain. "Know her?" he sneers. "She's one of us. Of course we know her. But that doesn't mean we'll allow some reckless fool to follow in her wake." The shorter elf steps even closer, the dagger glinting in his hand. "And even if we didn't know her, it wouldn't matter. You think she needs some human chasing after her like a lost pup? Turn around while you still can." Seeing no way to talk his way out of this, Jay looks at a steep slope next to the path. He takes a deep breath and, without warning, sprints toward the slope and leaps down the incline. The ground gives way beneath his feet as he tumbles down the slope. The world spins around him. Loose dirt and rocks cascade with Jay as he falls, the steep incline making it impossible to stop or control his descent. He can hear the shouts of the elves from above, but their voices quickly fade as he crashes down toward the stream at the bottom of the hill. As Jay crashes to the bottom of the slope, groaning in pain and gasping for breath, he hears the sharp voices of the elves above him. There's no hesitation in their tone now, just determination. "After him!" the taller elf snaps. He glances up to see them already descending the slope with alarming grace, their agility making the steep incline almost effortless for them. Unlike his rough tumble, they leap from rock to rock with the natural balance of their kind, moving with terrifying speed. "They don't give up," he mutters, panic surging through him as he staggers to his feet, ignoring the sharp sting of bruises and scrapes. He glances at the rushing stream beside him. There is no easy way to cross it. He forces his legs to move, stumbling forward along the stream bank, the sound of his heavy breathing mixing with the rush of water. He glances at the elves behind him, their footsteps almost silent but relentless, getting closer with each passing second. The trees along the stream offer little cover, and he knows he can't outrun them. As he pushes himself harder, his mind races. The forest ahead grows thicker, the underbrush denser, and he spots a narrow, rocky passage leading deeper into the woods. It's a slim chance, but it might be his only one. Without a second thought, he darts toward it, his lungs burning and his heart pounding as he throws himself into the shadowy passage. His body screams with exhaustion as he pushes through dense underbrush and over uneven rocks. The branches tear at his clothes. He can hear the elves behind him, still moving with eerie precision and speed. Their footsteps are light, barely noticeable, but they're relentless, getting closer with every second. Panic grips Jay as he realizes he hasn't gained nearly enough ground. He glances back and catches a glimpse of the taller elf, his eyes locked on him, not more than a few strides behind. Before Jay can react, the elves are on him. The taller one grabs him by the shoulder, then drags him out of the passage before shoving him hard against a tree. Jay's breath escapes him in a painful gasp as his back slams against the rough bark. The shorter elf pulls out his dagger, the blade gleaming wickedly in the dim light of the forest. He steps forward, eyes blazing with frustration and anger. "We told you to stop, human," he snarls, his voice low and dangerous. "We gave you a chance to turn back, but you just had to run." Jay, pinned against the tree, struggles to catch his breath, his mind racing for any way out. The taller elf leans in closer, his grip on Jay's shoulder tightening painfully. "You're making this far more difficult than it needs to be," the taller elf growls. "We can end this here and now, or you can tell us why you're really after Silra. This foolish game ends now." The dagger gleams as the shorter elf steps even closer, eyes narrowed. Jay confesses, "I just really like the girl." The elves' eyes narrow at his response, their expressions shifting from frustration to something darker. The taller elf's grip tightens painfully on Jay's shoulder, his patience clearly gone. "You like her?" the shorter elf hisses, his face twisted in anger. Without another word, the taller elf slams Jay against the tree again, harder this time. The breath is knocked from Jay's lungs, and his vision swims for a moment from the impact. The taller elf growls, "You're wasting our time," grabbing the front of Jay's tunic and dragging him away from the tree before shoving him roughly to the ground. Jay's hands scrape against the dirt and rocks, a sharp pain shooting through them. As he struggles to rise, the second elf steps forward, planting a boot on Jay's chest and pinning him down. His dagger gleams in the fading light as he lowers it to Jay's throat, the sting of sharp metal grazing his skin. The shorter elf says, "We should end this now," his voice laced with contempt. "Silra doesn't need some lovesick human following her around. You're not worth her time, or ours." The pressure on Jay's chest increases, making it harder to breathe, and the sharp tip of the dagger presses more firmly against his skin. The second elf's eyes bore into Jay's, filled with a dangerous intent. The blade presses a little harder against Jay's throat, enough for him to feel the sharp, cold bite of the metal. The taller elf raises a hand. "Enough," he says, his voice calm but firm. The second elf hesitates, then slowly withdraws the dagger, though he keeps his boot planted firmly on Jay's chest. "You're pathetic," the taller elf says, looking down at Jay with disdain. "But killing you here would only bring more trouble for us. We don't need humans sniffing around, asking questions about some missing fool." The shorter elf snorts but steps back, allowing Jay to catch his breath. "Consider yourself lucky," he sneers. "If it were up to me, you'd be a corpse by now." The taller elf leans down, his face just inches from Jay's. "Listen closely, human. If you keep following Silra, if you continue on this path, we will find you again, and next time we won't be as merciful." With that, they step back, leaving Jay on the ground, bruised and gasping for breath, before disappearing into the trees as silently as they had come. Jay is left lying there. Bruised and shaken, Jay lies on the ground for a moment, catching his breath and waiting for the pain to ebb. The elves' warning echoes in his mind. Slowly he pushes himself up, wincing as sharp stings from his injuries shoot through him. He glances north, the direction Silra had gone. Taking a deep breath, Jay gathers himself, adjusts his knapsack, and sets off once more, the faint sound of the stream behind him. Jay stumbles forward, his legs shaky but determined. His clothes are torn and dirtied, bruises forming on his arms and ribs, and a small trickle of blood still runs down his neck where the elf's dagger grazed him. He mutters "pricks" under his breath. Every step aches, but he keeps moving. The forest around him feels quieter now. darker, as if the encounter with the elves has stripped away the warmth of the day. His thoughts drift to Silra. Despite everything, despite the elves' warnings, the danger, and his own body screaming for rest, he can't let go of the idea of finding her. Whatever this was, whatever he had stumbled into, he isn't ready to give up. Not yet. The forest grows thicker around him and the sun gets lower, casting long shadows over the road. Jay mutters again, "Absolute pricks," before setting his gaze north. Jay trudges forward, his stomach starting to twist with hunger as he realizes the next town is still a long way off, 20 miles, if his memory serves him right. The sun has already begun to set, casting long shadows across the path, and the forest around him feels increasingly oppressive. His knapsack is light, painfully empty now that the last of his bread is gone. With nothing to eat and his body battered, the hunger gnaws at him, making each step feel heavier than the last. His mouth is dry, and his limbs are sore from the encounter with the elves. He keeps wiping at the blood on his neck, now more annoyed than worried about the wound. As he continues along the road, he scans the surroundings, hoping for anything, a stray berry bush, a stream with fish, even a small animal he could try to catch. But the forest offers no easy solutions, just an eerie silence and a growing sense of isolation. His stomach growls loudly, reminding him of how long it's been since he last ate. His pace slows, but his stubbornness keeps him moving forward. There has to be something, he thinks, his eyes darting around. As Jay stumbles past a small village, the flickering lights of homes and a tavern tempt him. His stomach growls, and he reaches into his knapsack, hoping to find a few coppers left, just enough to buy some bread or a bit of stew. But his fingers brush only the rough fabric of the empty bag. Confused, he pulls the knapsack open and fumbles through it, his heart sinking as his hands hit nothing but air. His mind races for an explanation before his fingers find the jagged tear in the fabric. Not a hole, a slash. His eyes narrow as realization dawns on him. "Those elves!" he shouts in frustration, anger bubbling up in his chest. They must have cut into his knapsack when they roughed him up, taking his last bit of money without him noticing. He grits his teeth, his frustration overwhelming his exhaustion. Now, without a single copper and no food, he feels utterly defeated. Hunger claws at him, and the thought of the elves playing him like that only makes it worse. Jay stands there for a moment, staring at the distant lights of the village, knowing full well he can't buy anything. He sighs heavily, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. No turning back, he tells himself, though the reality of his situation feels grim. With a final glance at the village, he turns back to the road and presses on, the faint hope that he might find something to eat along the way, keeping him from stopping completely. As Jay continues down the road, the first few drops of rain splatter against his face. At first it's just a light drizzle, but within minutes the sky opens up, unleashing a relentless downpour. The cold rain seeps through his torn clothes, drenching him almost instantly. He shivers uncontrollably. He curses under his breath, feeling utterly exposed and ill-prepared for the sudden change in weather. "I should have stayed in town. I'm not built for this," he thinks, bitterly aware of how much he relied on the shelter and warmth of the city. The road turns muddy, each step becoming harder as his boots sink into the wet ground. His teeth begin to chatter and his muscles ache from the cold. Finally, unable to take it any more, he spots a large tree just off the road and stumbles toward it. The thick branches offer a little shelter from the rain, though the wind still cuts through. He collapses against the trunk, hugging himself in an attempt to conserve some warmth. His stomach growls again, but the hunger is now overshadowed by the biting cold that seeps into his bones. He huddles beneath the tree, soaked to the skin, teeth clenched against the shivers racking his body. "What was I thinking?" he wonders, the events of the last day catching up with him. The elves, the slashed knapsack, the distance yet to travel, it all feels too much now, with the rain pouring down and no food or warmth to keep him going. He pulls his knees to his chest, trying to shield himself from the worst of the rain. His mind drifts to Silra again, wherever she is. She's probably handling this far better than he is. Thank you for listening. I'm creating and sharing this story on my own, so your support genuinely means the world to me. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it and leave a review wherever you listen. Those small things really help support me. For updates, or if you'd like to read the story instead, visit silverwoodsaga.com. Thank you.